going to sound very good with an Australian accent. You know, it is a joy to be with you all here this weekend. We sisters are very excited. You know, there's only two occasions that sisters avoid going outside in public. That's large expos like this and Halloween, because, you know, it's kind of hard to take us seriously. You know, most conversations when we're in public begin with, "Are y'all for real?" And at the same time, you know, it's not until Halloween that we actually get more compliments than any other day of the year. Nice get up. Love, 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 love the outfit. Well, as you heard, my name is Sister Mary Grace, and I'm here with two of my sisters, Sister Marie Veritas here in the crowd and Sister Maria Christina. And yes, we are real nuns. Now you may be thinking, did that nun just get up and stage? Church is down the road. But we decided that each one of you here today is worth the risk of being taken for a fake. In fact, we believe in you big time, in each one of you. And you deserve to know what's real about you. That you are irreplaceable. You know, just last weekend I went to the doctors for a checkup, and I met Jake, the physician. And sitting on the chair, he took my vitals, and looking kind of uncomfortable, I tried to make him feel at ease, and I said, "Busy day in the office?" And he said, "Nah, it's pretty normal." And then he asked me, he's like, "How long have you been here?" And I was like, "Oh, well, 8 years in New York City." And with the puzzled look, he looked at me and said, "Why would you leave Australia?" And I said, "Mate, I know, trust me. This was never part of my plans, to leave the beachside for the Bronx. But when I experienced the reality of God's living love for me, I actually wanted that more than anything else that I've ever experienced." He said to me, "You know, my bro's gone back to church recently." And he said, "You know, as a kid, all I remember about church was falling asleep." And I said, "That kind of sounded like my upbringing as well." I said, "Jake, it sounds like you're looking for something more, right? More than just a good time, more than just staying awake at church." "Yeah," he said. Then sitting down and beginning to put a needle in my arm, he said, "I guess I'm looking for a sign." You know, that God hears me. Now I'm trying to remain still as he's got a needle in my arm, not being too squeamish. I look at him and say, "Hang on a second, Jake, mate. You're telling me that your heart is yearning for more. You come to work on Monday morning and you're sticking a needle in a nun." It's like, what kind of a sign are you looking for? You know, we are all looking for something. We're all looking for something. And this weekend, perhaps it's a makeover, you know, a new hairstyle. I'm looking out for myself. Maybe some retail therapy, new boutiques, or just a day off with your mum or a best friend. And maybe we don't always know quite what we're looking for, but we know that we need a lift in our life, right? A lift. So whatever has brought you here today, we're here to share with you that there is nothing more valuable in this room than the gift of you. It's true. No one can put a value on the gift of your life. You know, you are priceless, priceless. And the value of your life is of infinite worth. No one compares to the gift that you are. So we just want to briefly talk about three realities of every person in this room. You are irreplaceable, you're absolutely unrepeatable, and lovable. That's right, your life is good, just being you. So number one, you are irreplaceable. You know, the amazing thing is that from all eternity, you know, even before you decided this weekend would be a great idea to come to this Expo, that God desired you to be. It's amazing. And if we think even further back from the day that we could paint our own nails or even sing a song, He wanted you to be, to exist. That each one of us is a unique reflection of His eternal glory. There is no better compliment than that about each one of you. And even closer, that means that right now, God loves us. God loves us right now. It's why we exist. You know, as I said in the beginning, I now live in the Bronx, where local wildlife has gone from exotic birds, cute and cuddly koalas as you see in Australia, to oversized squirrels that eat pizza out of dumpsters and drink pop with straws. True story, I saw it myself. And we love at schools. And next door to our convent in the Bronx is a little school for kindergartners. And as you can imagine, as we sit and join them for lunch, they have so many questions that they ask us. One kindergarten girl asked her sister, she leant forward and said, "What's that thing on your head?" And so her sister started talking about brides, weddings, and then she said, "Well, I wear this because I'm married to Jesus." And this little girl, like a Bronx 5-year-old only could, slammed her hands on the cafeteria table, leaned forward and said, "He chose you?" Thanks, kid. But this is actually the wonder about each one of us, that God chose you. It's the stunning truth that we actually do not hear enough about. That every one of us, no matter how strong or weak we are, no matter how rich or poor, celebrity or not, center stage or backstage, is loved and willed into existence by God. By God. Totally unique, unrepeatable. This means that you and me, and yes, the person sitting next to you, is an absolute wonder. You're a wonder. And our worth, your worth, does not come from what you can do, but who you are. Who you are. God loves us for who we are. And when we live in this truth, the pressure is off, right? We can be more and more freely ourselves. I love airports. They're unlike any other place in the world. Everybody's on the move. There's excitement of travel. And we're kind of like all looking for something to distract us from the delays. So as you can imagine, a real nun can be kind of entertaining. And I recently approached a long line for coffee at an airport, and a young guy just jumped out of the line and offered us his spot. And I said, "Oh no, sir, thank you, we'll wait in line. We understand the need for coffee." And he said, "Please, sister," he said, "you're going to heaven, not me. Jump in line." Now, if there's one thing about nuns, we'd love to talk about heaven, so we jump on every opportunity. And I said, "Brother," I said, "if I'm going to heaven, I hope to see you there too. I hope to see you there too." And when we were sitting in line, we had a chance to chat. He shared more and more about his story, about his upbringing. This guy was a genius. He was a scientist and a philosopher who knows more about the galaxies than I had ever heard. And did you know that it actually takes, I learned this, millions of years for a star's light to reach our eyes, what we see. It means that when we look at the night sky, any given night, you're actually looking back 100,000 years ago into the past. And if you're lucky, on any given night, we only ever see 2,500 stars maximum. But there's actually billions of stars beyond our sight. It's amazing. It's amazing. But what mattered most to this gentleman that I met was the awesome design, that everything seemed to work together. And he asked about my story and what I was doing there and why I was wearing what I was wearing. And I started to tell him, I grew up in Australia and I had dreams of doing something great with my life. I always wanted to become an Olympian. It was my dream from childhood. Until I discovered that I had dreams that were even far deeper than the greatest I could have imagined of. Drake, I'll call him, said to me, "Why does there have to be someone behind the beauty of creation, right?" He's like, "Why can't you just accept that it's an impressive world?" I was like, "Well, that's a good point." I said, "Drake, I would if I could. I would if I could. But it sounds like it's not enough for you either. And it's just a good design. What if, it's good to ponder this, what if there really was something behind the beauty that we see in the world? What if someone did it all for you? For you." It's amazing to consider. Our sisters have been in Texas now 3 days. I have never seen sunrises like I have in Texas. They're absolutely gorgeous. Honestly, they're unbelievable. Amazing. And your bluebonnet flowers, the purple touches the blue everywhere. It's gorgeous, so sweet. What if God knew that you would love, that I would love the way the sun rises? So he makes it happen for me. What if he knew that you love the way the stars sparkle? And so he made them sparkle for you. And whatever it is that you love about creation, what if God had you in mind when he made it? That's awesome. You know, Drake said to me when I started explaining these things, he said, you know, if God was that interested in me, shouldn't he be pursuing me and not him? And I said, you know, the stars might sparkle, but you are the only creature in the entire world made after the image and likeness of God. You are the only creature made for God. You know, did you know that about yourself? That you are sacred. You are sacred. You know, God calls from within us, from our desires, right? And our desires desire for something that lasts longer than the sparkle of the stars. We have desires that are of an infinite thirst and longing, desires for meaning, for peace, for hope in our lives. We want more than what we can just see and touch, you know? We want more. And you are known by God. Each one of you is known. No matter what we have done, no matter what we have been through, nothing can take away your dignity. Nothing can take that away. You are more. You know, in our time and age, we can tend to forget this, right? Or maybe we've never heard it said to us up straight. And life can often feel like it's telling us the opposite, right? Like I have to make myself beautiful, that I have to keep up, measure up, that I'm never quite enough. You know, if I'm not edited and filtered and liked, I'm worthless. I'm not even seen. And it's easy to forget the truth that we are irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. And it's easy for fear to creep in and take over at different points. But you know, there is one thing that you need never question in your life, and that is that you are lovable. You are lovable. And this is not just a lofty idea, it's not positive thinking, and neither is it just for nuns to believe in. It's the whole point of our lives, to know this truth that you are lovable. And it's the reason we're here. It's the reason we're here, that we're made from love and we're made for love. Just being you. So we must not treat ourselves cheaply. You know, the very fact that we exist means that we're held in love. We're held in love. You know, love defines each one of our lives and nothing else. Everything else is less, actually. Love defines you. You know, when we shared this message on Long Island in New York City, a woman in this fur coat, jet black hair, 100% Long Island, came up to us sisters afterwards and said, sisters, the message is intoxicating. You know, we want for more than just a good time. We want for more than just a good time. You know, a preacher in the Bronx likes to say, we live for love, not for likes. We live for more. We want for love that's real, that's authentic. We want to be loved inside and out, unconditional. And we know it because we're made in its image and likeness, and it's for us. It's possible. My sisters, it's possible for us. It's possible. And it's accessible where? Right from within us. We don't have to look further. So number 2, you are unrepeatable. You know, I'll never forget when I met sisters for the first time in my life. I did not grow up with nuns. I was not born like this. You know, all I saw of sisters before I turned 18 was the one that we saw in movies. You know, Sister Act, Sound of Music, anybody? Yeah, that's all I saw. They were singing and dancing nuns, but just that. You know, I honestly didn't think people were actually doing this anymore, or that it could even make you happy, you know? You know, the sisters were visiting in Sydney, Australia, and, you know, I didn't even remember what they said or what they did. I didn't even approach them, but I do remember a few things. They were strangely normal. They were shockingly happy, and they were women that were in love. They were women that were in love. You know, and these were 3 things that I did not always associate with my faith. You know, but faith for me up until that point in my life was about being a good girl, you know, doing the right things. But they were living for someone. They were living for someone, and that changed everything about the way they lived. And I wanted that. I wanted that so much. You know, so I wanted to hang out more. So I decided to take them around Sydney, you know, show them the best of our beaches. We fed kangaroos. But one of my favorite spots is what is called the Blue Mountains Range. They are these 3 large cliffs that just sprout out of a valley of mountains. Absolutely gorgeous. And I had the perfect guess. You know, I knew this was going to be my Instagram fame moment. You could see it, 3 sisters standing in front of 3 cliffs. The text across, become a sister, see the world. But as we were driving up that morning to see these mountains, something really strange began to happen. With every mile that we ascended into the mountain range, this white mist started to envelop us. And this huge cloud was closing in just at the time we were coming up. And I was mad. I was so mad. And one of the sisters leant over and she was like, "Oh, how are you doing?" I was like, "I'm fine." And the sister looked at me and she said, she said, "We know people. We'll pray. It'll be okay." I was like, classic nuns. We'll pray and it'll be okay. So I politely obliged as they began to jingle their big beads and they started calling on all these people. Anthony, Jude, Clayton, Clement, Felicity, Perpetua, on they went. They laughed and sang like it was all part of the adventure. Well, we pull up to this lookout, right? And you wouldn't believe it. Nope, no blue skies, just a white abyss. Even when you put your hands out, you can kind of like lose your arm. It was so thick. And one of the sisters was now kind of like bouncing in each step. And she's like, "Why don't we sing to God and ask him to lift the cloud in front of us?" And I was like, oh my God. I was like, if this wasn't embarrassing enough, everybody was already requesting selfies with the sisters, and now they were going to sing. May as well call it Broadway. Well, off they sang in front of these mountains. And I'll never hear this song again without getting the chills. They sing, "Oh, breathe on me, oh, breath of God, fill me with life anew." And as they raised their voices, literally the cloud began to lift. It was awesome. And you could see the outline of these beautiful mountains making their way through. And before us was like unveiled this most majestic scene that I had seen a million times before, but never like this. Never like this. I was so fixated on what I wanted, but God surprised me with something so much more. And he didn't just want us to see this beautiful view. He wanted us to receive it like a gift, like it was from him to us. And my sisters, you are more beautiful than any of the most beautiful landscapes. The view of you is incomparable to anything else this world has to offer. And even all these things put together, you are more. You're a wonder. And I don't know if you know that about yourself. You're a wonder. You're a wonder. God says that he made us good, like really, really good. So good that God calls each one of you daughter. He claims you as his own. Of course, we don't always see this in ourselves, right? We can think we have to cover it up. We get this clouded vision, and we struggle at times to see the good that's right within us. But here's the good news. This is the good news. Goodness remains in you no matter what. And God always sees the goodness and the beauty that's within that side of us, even when we miss it. Even when we miss it. And God loves what he sees. And like creation of the world, when it comes to each one of our lives, there was at one point, not too long ago, that you and I did not exist. We weren't here. We weren't here. And then there was a moment. There was a moment before you were created that God thought of you. You were God's idea first. He thought of the way that you would laugh, the way that you would smile, what interests you, what convicts you, what captivates you. He thought of you, and he thought, I want it. I want her to live, I want her to be, and I want her now. You were God's idea first. It's amazing to think about. My little brother had a son recently. They named him Gus after Augustine, but Gus is way cuter. So little Gus is 8 months old, and he can only say one word. Whoa. So when a plane goes by, it's like, whoa. Mango comes in on a spoon. Whoa. He picked my crucifix, which is like the size of his head, and he's like, whoa. When God created woman, he left us to the last, the best part, the final piece. You are the pinnacle of creation. You are the pinnacle of creation. And when God made each one of us women, he stepped back with the same delight as he looks at you right now. And he says, whoa, whoa, upon each one of you. God has not stopped creating us. We were not a one-hit wonder. The fact that we exist right now is because God loves us. still loves us, will always love us. You know, as sisters of life, we're women who are in love with God who is love, who is love. And we're captivated by this truth, the beauty of every human person created in God's image and likeness. And that reality, that you are unique and unrepeatable, has stunned us, absolutely stunned us. And we believe that your life has meaning, worth, and in fact, we give our lives to that truth. You know, and in the anxieties and chaos of this world that we all experience, this message can be drowned out, right? We don't hear it very often. And especially when we face a struggle or a trial, it's toughest to remember what's real, which is why we walk with women who are in crisis and find themselves struggling with a pregnancy. We offer weekend retreats, a chance to get away and just rest in what's real. We share the message of what's true about you and me, like we are right now. And we also walk with women on journeys of hope and healing, because God is for you. And the truth is that there is no darkness, there is no despair, and there is no disaster that is bigger than God's light and the strength of his love for you. His love for you is the deepest. And you know, at times we need to lean on each other, right? When we're going through a tough time. And when we experience that our life matters and others will take a risk for me, we encounter the love that God had for us from the beginning. Being seen and loved for who I am, no matter what's going on, I'm suddenly capable. You know, we have a home in Manhattan, which is where our sisters are from, New York, where women will come and live with us during their pregnancy and however long they need. And one returned to visit us recently, proud to tell us of all her new accomplishments that she had in life. And she started going up the list. She said, I just did my degree in nursing. She just got her first job. She decorated her own apartment recently. And she completed the picture of her new life by saying, you know what's funny, sisters? I'm just beginning to experience myself as the person you always believed me to be. And another woman just recently at Thanksgiving this year blew us all away when she said that what she was most grateful for in her life was for those who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. For those who saw the good in me when I didn't see the good in myself. You know, this is the good news. God is not waiting for us to get it right, measure up, or have the perfect record. Now, God desires that you and I discover the goodness within us and live from that place. And his love for us changes everything. It changes everything. And knowing that we're loved at every point changes life. It lightens life. So third point, you are lovable. Okay, so as you can imagine, we sisters get called lots of names. Sometimes we get really nice ones like, you know, Princess, Bride, Mother Mary, Angel. Other times we just get strange ones. One day I was leaving one of our convents, and this little girl was walking across the other side of the street, and she was holding her mum's hand, and I smiled, and she smiled and waved back at me. Then she pulled on her mum's hand and pointed me out and said, "Look, Mum, a unicorn." You know, the world can sometimes seem like it's speaking a whole other language, right? And sometimes we don't often hear that we're valuable, that we're lovable just for being ourselves, or that we're beautiful, a wonder. And from every angle, we often more hear about the pressures to be efficient, to prove ourselves, that happiness is something we have to buy. And anything short is unlikable, you know? We get distracted, and we all have burdens that worries us, anxieties that get to us. But the truth is, you are not your fear. You are not the things that weigh you down. There's more to you. You know, I want to tell you about another time that I met a woman on a plane. She was about a middle-aged lady, lovely blonde hair, dressed to the nines. And I was surprised by her first comment when I sat down next to her. Some people get shocked. But she said, you know, when I saw you in the airport, I wanted to talk to you. And so began a 3-hour conversation with this lady from takeoff to touchdown. And Ellie, I'll call her, she grew up religious, but like so many of us, she looked elsewhere. And she kept searching. She had just retired and she was on her way to vacation when her hopes and dreams seemed to like resurface in her heart. And sharing her story and the choices that she had made, the regrets that she still carried, she said, you know what, sister? She said, there's no worse feeling than waking up beside someone who doesn't even know your name. And looking at me, she said, you know, I still want to belong. What's wrong with me? I said, Ellie, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. In fact, you have named what is in each one of our hearts, that we want to be loved faithfully, forever. You know, and anything less leaves us aching for more. And being used can sometimes make us wonder, what went wrong? Did I have good desires? But you were never meant to be used. You deserve better. You were created for love. You know, and Ellie had suffered a lot in her life. From addiction, she'd lost loved ones suddenly, she suffered an abortion, had painful breakups, and now she was retired. She was excited, but she was also terrified. What she'd been looking for her whole life long never went away, actually. She wanted it all the more. And then the curveball came. She said, "Sister, I wish you could get married." I said, "Oh, that's funny. I am." I gotta wrap it up. Thank you. I said, "I'm married to God and He's 100% faithful." I said, the difficult thing about that is, you know, when there's a relationship problem, I don't have to look too far. The truth is, we're not here to recruit you, you know, to what our neighbors in the Bronx called the nunhood. Although blue and white goes with most complexions, just want to say. And we're not here to empty your pockets either, to beg you to donate or actually ask anything from you. We're here for you, and there's no conditions on that. You know, when I first heard the message that my life had meaning, that my ache for more was not something bad, but a signpost to the good that I'm made for, you know, I was desperate to hear it. When I was 12, I wrote a letter to my future self. I said, you know, I had a strong will. I said, "You are a rock star. You are going to fall madly in love one day, and the man of your dreams is going to live and die for you, and you're going to be famous." And I thought, you know what, I think this weekend my dream has come true. I'm officially on a stage, and God is faithful. There we go. So I just want to finish with one thing, you see. You know, when I shared this message with a woman recently that had spent some time with us, she said, "When I heard you speak, sister, it was like shackles of 60 years of burden had fallen from my shoulders, and I felt like I wanted to dance again." And another woman approached me and said, "Sister, I have something to tell you. You've got to charge for your talk. You've got to charge for this stuff." Because she said, if the world knew what you were saying, you'd make a killing. But that's the relief. God's news about you and I, that you're unique, unrepeatable, that you do not have to earn your love or your goodness, that it's right within you, is free. It's free. And God doesn't expect anything else from you other than to be you, to be yourself. He calls you son and daughter, and it's who you are. And there's nothing in your life that can take away that truth about you. So it's a gift to be with you. We're right here. We'd love to see you. Come talk to us. God bless you.
We are pleased to welcome to the main stage Modern Day Wonder Woman, presented by Con Nguyen.